Hi there. Thanks for joining me here on Conversations for Yoga Teachers. I'm your host, Karen Fabian, the founder of Bare Bones Yoga and the creator of the Momentum Magic Method, the way to become a confident teacher, one who effortlessly walks around the room, shares clear cues, easily builds sequences, and speaks from your heart, sharing authentically with your students. Here on the podcast, you'll discover new and inspiring ways to share your cues and create your sequences. You'll uncover habits and frameworks all designed to empower you so that you can teach in a way that feels authentic and natural. For some episodes, I'll have a guest, and other episodes I'll share with you on my own, and in each one, you'll always get action steps and takeaways you can apply right away to your teaching. In addition to the podcast, follow me on Instagram and TikTok for daily videos. You'll see a link on both of my profiles, my Stan Store link. Click it and unlock ways you can get the support you need to be the teacher of your dreams. You'll find links to the podcast, my free ebook, and other resources to help you be the best teacher you can be. You'll also find the link to my signature program, the Yoga Anatomy Blueprint Learning Program, and you can see if you qualify to enroll. So with that, let's get on with today's show. Hi there. Welcome to Conversations for Yoga Teachers. I'm your host, Karen Fabian, and this is episode 383. So I'm recording this on December 18th, 2025, and this will go live on December 22nd, 2025. So we're headed to the end of the year. I have one more episode to do in this calendar year. And just for the record, I've recorded an episode every single week. This is like the fourth or fifth year I've consistently recorded every single week, which is just a huge accomplishment. And I'm so loving this format. It's so easy for me to do. I love connecting with you in this way. So more to follow in the new year. I wanted to start out this video by sharing what I'm super, super psyched about as we head into the new year. Every end of year, I sit down, I take a retrospective look at my business, at what I've learned, at ways I've grown, at conversations I've had with teachers, at what I've sort of pulled from those conversations when it comes to understanding the challenges that yoga teachers are facing these days, what's blocking them from feeling super confident and authentic and empowered. And I always look for how can I how can I be better? How can I be clearer? How can I reach more yoga teachers? And ultimately, that's my goal. My goal is, and if you've listened to this podcast, especially the last couple of weeks, I was pretty clear in speaking about some of the goals I have to have, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 people enrolling in my accelerator program every single month. Teachers just loving the program, telling people about it. I actually just set up a referral program. So for any yoga teacher who takes my accelerator program and they refer it to somebody, and that person enrolls, I gift them a $50 referral fee. And I've already had one come in. And so I don't hide. My goal is to reach as many yoga teachers as possible. So over the next 2 weeks left in this year, I'm going to be hunkering down and thinking forward. How can I be better next year? How can I be clearer? How can I reach more yoga teachers? Keeping that top line goal in mind. And earlier this week, I was listening to a podcast, the Rich Roll podcast. He was interviewing a woman. Gosh, her name is, Greg Renfrew. And she is the CEO of Counter, which used to be Beauty Counter. Anyway, I won't get into all the details, but in their conversation, her telling her story literally sparked an idea in my mind of where I want to go directionally with my brand. And it's a bolder step, it's a clearer step, it's completely inspired by my passion for helping as many yoga teachers as possible feel like going out there and teaching their classes is easy, is fun, is exactly what I was meant to do in the world. And I don't want to go into it now because I'm going to devote next week's episode, I think, to this entire thing once I map it all out. What I can tell you though is I've already changed the tagline on my Instagram to reflect this new focus. And I've included a video that will give you a heads up. So I'm going to sort of leave you with a cliffhanger here. Go to my Instagram, go to my profile page. You'll see the new tagline. It's 4 words, 2 words, a period, and then another 2 words. And then you'll see the link to watch the video. So I'm just going to leave it there for now and we'll cover more in upcoming episodes. What I want to share with you today is a little bit of an experiment. And this is actually just the intro. We're going to transition into the actual thing, and I'm going to tell you what that is. And I don't want you to, I don't know, I don't want you to prejudge it until you experience it. I'm going to say, though, this is absolutely an experiment. So feel free to send me a DM on Instagram with how this landed when you listen to it. So, in full transparency, I recently started playing around with an AI tool, an artificial intelligence tool called Google Notebook LM. And LM stands for language model. And it works pretty uniquely. It doesn't work like ChatGPT. What it actually does is you load up your own content and it creates sort of a reformatted content product based on your data, your content that you load. And so, for instance, I pointed Google Notebook LM to a whole bunch of my prior podcast episodes. And I asked it, actually, a friend of mine generated this to start, and then I've been playing with it. I asked it to create a PDF that would illustrate what are the characteristics of a confident teacher, and it created this beautiful PDF with all these like pictures of yoga teachers teaching, and the content in it was all words that I've used because again, I want you to remember the only source of data that this AI tool is using is my own content. It's not using anything out on the open internet. Now, granted, some of my content, of course, is on the open internet, like this podcast you're listening to is open source content, but I'm directing this tool to only look at my stuff and leveraging this tool's technical capabilities to create different things. Like, for instance, I'm probably not going to do this, but I could load up all my podcast episodes, all 383 of them, and I could ask this AI tool, hey, can you write me a book on how to be a successful yoga teacher? And it could write the book. Right now, of course, I'd have to go back and edit it, and I don't feel like writing a book. I've written 2 books, and books are not really my thing anymore. But that's how it works. So what I did was I loaded up some of my podcast episodes and I asked it, can you create a podcast episode that talks about the qualities of a confident teacher? Again, based off of lessons I've shared in prior episodes, and I had specific ones I loaded up. And it did. And you're going to hear what it created. And it is downright amazing and even a little bit weird because what you're going to hear are 2 avatar voices, a man and a woman, talking about me and my content. And by content, I mean the lessons I've taught, the teaching method I've created. And I want you to listen closely because when these 2 avatars, by avatar, I mean like computer generated voices, when these computer generated avatars talk about, oh, well, the source says, they're talking about me. I am the source because, again, and I just want to reiterate this so you don't feel ripped off, the only place that this AI tool got data from is me, my own copyrighted, trademark, proprietary content, nobody else's stuff. So this is basically just taking my stuff and reformatting it and spitting it out in the form of a podcast interview, as if two separate people had done a deep dive into my teaching methodology and we're now talking about it. Well, Karen says blah, 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 blah to be a confident teacher. Karen says this, Karen says that, but it's in a conversational way. So they actually don't say my name all that much, but they do sometimes refer to, well, the source says. And it kind of almost sounds like something in Star Wars, but I want you to know when they say the source, they mean me. So that's the intro. And we're going to hop over to that episode, that conversation, that AI generated podcast interview now. And again, I really want to hear from you. I mean, I say that pretty much all the time, and I hardly ever get any responses, which is such a bummer. You have to appreciate from my side, I am just talking into the void. So I really thrive on hearing how this is landing for you. Now, the only thing I can go on is how many downloads every week. So I have data that shows people are listening. It's just not qualitative information, it's just quantitative. So send me a DM on Instagram and let me know what you thought. So with that, we're going to head into this conversation focused on actionable skills to help you build your confidence. So that's the topic, actionable skills to help you build your confidence. And if you're a new listener to the podcast, this is actually a really efficient way to get introduced to my teaching methodology. If you are a longtime listener of the podcast, if you're someone who's worked with me in my program, this is going to sound familiar. It's just that it's packaged in a way that might allow you to pick up something new. So as we come to a close on the intro, because I'm not going to speak to you again before the end of this episode, I want to once again refer you to my Instagram page, not just to see the new tagline, which conveys my renewed, not even my renewed, which conveys my new focus for 2026. I also want to direct you to the other stuff in my link in bio because I've uploaded new stuff. I've curated a specific list of things that I want you to see. Some are free downloads, some is a anatomy test. So when you're there anyway, on my Instagram bio to see the new tagline, and you click the link, watch the video, it's right at the top, and then pick up one of the other freebies that I have there. So with that, we're going to shift over to that podcast interview. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are digging into a really substantial body of work from Karen Fabian of Bare Bones Yoga.
Yeah, she's a prominent yoga teacher, educator, and coach.
And her material gives this highly strategic view of the yoga industry, which is really aimed at helping teachers get past that feeling of being stuck that happens right after training.
It's such an important topic because the sources, they just immediately pinpoint this huge disconnect.
Right.
You, the listener, you probably came out of your 200-hour training feeling so inspired, ready to go.
Full of enthusiasm.
Exactly. And then reality hits. And a lot of teachers just get overwhelmed or stuck or their confidence just, well, it tanks.
So our mission today is pretty surgical.
It is. We're unpacking the why. Why does this crisis of confidence happen? And then we're extracting the very clear, very strategic how to move forward.
Using the mental and tactical toolkit that's right there in the material.
Precisely. We're moving past the general fluffy inspiration.
And drilling down into the actual barriers, the things that stop a teacher from becoming, truly confident and authentic.
Well, let's start with the destination. What are we even aiming for?
Okay, good point. The material frames it as the confident, authentic teacher triangle. What does that actually look like?
It's the goal state, really. If you're in this triangle, you've basically mastered 3 key things.
Which are?
You're teaching where you want. So studios, corporate, retreats, whatever. You're teaching how you want. So it's your authentic style. You're not just copying someone else.
And the third one is the big one.
It is. You are earning your worth. It's a really holistic view of what professional success means in this industry.
That idea of earning your worth, that's where the wheels often fall off for people.
Oh, for sure. But the sources suggest most teachers can't even get close to that triangle because they're trapped in what's called the circle of barriers.
Okay, so what's the first foundational obstacle in that circle?
The first and arguably the biggest, is the anatomy gap.
No, you don't mean just like failing a test on muscle names, right?
No, not at all. This is about anatomy in real life, in the teaching environment.
So how does that actually manifest when you're in front of a class?
It's it's like a constant low-level intellectual panic.
Okay.
A student asks a simple question about their knee in a pose, and you just freeze.
Yeah.
You might know the textbook term, but you have, and this is a quote, no idea how to help them.
So you end up going home and Googling things for 30 minutes that you feel like you should just know.
Exactly. And that just erodes your confidence piece by piece.
And then the response to that panic, from what I gather, is often the wrong one.
Totally counterproductive.
Yeah.
It triggers what the material calls the choose-your-own-adventure approach.
I think I know what this is.
Yeah, you see the gap. So you buy 4 different anatomy books. You sign up for 3 random online courses you saw on Instagram.
You're just grabbing at straws.
You're grabbing at straws. It's totally ineffective because there's no clear blueprint. You're just gathering random data points, but you never actually build a cohesive skill.
So it's an application problem, not a knowledge problem.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, let's move to barrier number 2 then. The struggle with sequencing and cues.
The great time suck. This is a huge one. We hear about teachers spending just an extraordinary amount of time prepping.
Like what? What's an example?
The source material gives examples like 5 hours a week just writing flows, or spouse noticing that every Sunday for 2 hours it's this anxiety-fueled ritual of class prep.
And then after all that work, you get in front of the class.
And the anxiety just spikes. You trip over your words. You share cues you can't really explain. And you just feel so nervous. You're just desperate for it to flow naturally.
I can see how that would lead to burnout so quickly.
It's inevitable.
So what about the third hurdle? The one we often call the hidden killer of confidence.
The classic imposter syndrome. And it shows up in so many ways in yoga.
Wait, constantly asking for feedback.
Yes, exactly. You're always chasing down your friends after class, asking, what did you think? Was that okay? How was I? Just constant seeking of external validation.
What are some other signals that imposter syndrome is really taking over?
A big one is fear. Fear of judgment. So you get terrified when another teacher shows up in your class.
Suddenly you feel like you're being graded.
Right. Or this intense fear that a student is going to get hurt because of your instruction. But maybe the biggest sign is the compulsion to conform.
To perform the role of yoga teacher.
Yes. You feel like you have to use Sanskrit, even if you can't pronounce it properly. Or you have to wear certain clothes to, look the part.
Or you get rigid about rules like, I have to cue to the breath on every single movement.
Exactly. Even if it's not actually serving the students in that moment. That need to conform it just sinks your authenticity.
Okay, so we've got the anatomy gap, the sequencing time suck, and imposter syndrome. The sources are pretty clear that just knowing about them isn't enough.
Not even close. You can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. You need a foundational mindset shift.
Which brings us to the higher self versus lower self framework.
Right. And this is really about identifying your own self-sabotaging talk. It's that classic angel on one shoulder, devil on the other.
So what are those common lower self statements that keep yoga teachers stuck?
Oh, they're the ones that sound smart but are really just excuses. Things like, that won't work for my students, or I just don't have time to study anatomy.
And the big one, I'm not ready.
I'm not ready to teach privates yet.
Yeah.
That's the voice that keeps you comfortable, but it also keeps you completely stuck.
So if that's the lower self, how does the higher self reframe those same thoughts?
The higher self turns those barriers into possibilities.
Yeah.
So instead of, that won't work, it's, anything is possible. Let me find a path that does work.
And for, I'm not ready.
The reframe is, I'm excited to start now and learn by doing.
I think the most powerful one you mentioned is about time, because that's what everyone feels they lack. The lower self says, I don't have time. What does the higher self say?
It's a total reframe of value. It says, I see the value and what I can gain by spending my time on this.
It's an investment, not a cost.
It's a huge investment. Spending 10 hours now to build a solid sequencing framework is going to save you 5 hours of prep work every single week, forever.
That connects this mindset shift directly to professional value and to money. And that's where so many teachers get uncomfortable.
We have to talk about it. The sources are really uncompromising on this point. There is nothing wrong or unprofessional about yoga teachers discussing business and money.
In fact, it's the opposite, right?
Exactly. Teachers who are afraid to charge their worth or even talk about business are, and this is a quote, dragging the whole industry down. They devalue the incredible service that's being provided.
That's a powerful statement. But a lot of listeners might feel that resistance. So what's the suggested baseline for a private session?
The material is very clear. The baseline for a 1-hour private should be $100.
$100.
Yes, regardless of your location. And the rationale is simple professional parity.
Comparing it to other wellness professionals.
Right. Think about a licensed massage therapist or an acupuncturist. They charge anywhere from $80 to $120 an hour. You, as a yoga teacher, are a highly trained movement specialist.
But what if someone hears that and thinks, my local studio class is $20, nobody will pay $100?
That's a lower self-thought. It goes back to the value proposition. You aren't selling an hour of movement. You are selling personalized, result-oriented support that someone can't get in a group class. You have to articulate that value.
And there's an opportunity cost to undercharging, too.
A huge one. If you charge $50, you have to teach twice as many privates to hit your income goal. That's double the prep, double the energy. Charging your worth is just. It's strategic efficiency.
Okay, so beyond the rate itself, what other sort of high-level business behaviors build a teacher's brand?
It really boils down to two things. First, pristine, clear communication. Your word is your brand.
Responding to emails, being clear about scheduling.
All of it. And the second is integrity.
And what does integrity look like in this context?
It's the small things that are actually the big things. Showing up early, being dependable, cleaning up after your class, following up with a student when you said you would.
The sources say people are watching this stuff.
They absolutely are. That kind of integrity builds a reputation that naturally brings you more opportunities, better classes, more referrals. It all connects.
Let's pivot now from the mindset to the mat. Let's talk tactical solutions for cueing and sequencing. We need some practical steps.
Okay, let's start with a really quick win. The power of action cues.
What are those exactly?
They're the simplest instructions you can give. Step your foot forward, reach your arms up. They're direct commands that students can process instantly.
And focusing on those helps a teacher's confidence.
It's a game changer. By focusing on just 3 or 4 primary action cues per pose, you simplify everything. Students respond faster because the instruction is so clear.
And you, the teacher, get that instant visual feedback that you're being understood.
Exactly. And that positive feedback loop is what builds confidence so quickly.
But yoga isn't just actions, right? It's also about sensation, awareness, somatic work. How do you cue that without being too suggestive?
This is such a crucial distinction. A lot of teachers fall into the trap of saying things like, you should be feeling a stretch in your hamstring.
Or release the tension in your back.
Right. And that language is a problem because it removes the student's agency. It tells them what they're supposed to feel.
So what's the alternative? How do you guide them?
You use what the material calls the inquiry framework. You ask an open-ended question.
To spark their own internal observation.
Precisely. So instead of release the tension in your hip, you ask, what do you notice about your right hip here?
Can you give us another example of that contrast?
Sure. A suggestive cue is feel your chest opening. An inquiry cue is as you reach your arms back, where do you feel sensation begin?
That's a huge shift.
It is. It makes the student the expert of their own body, which is way more empowering.
It changes the whole dynamic. And speaking of dynamics, let's talk about presence. How a teacher positions themselves in the room.
The key here is to adopt the walk and talk approach. You have to get off the mat. Stop practicing with your class.
When a teacher is tied to the mat.
They're essentially just another student in the room, and the actual students don't feel seen or heard.
And if you're walking around observing, that helps you close that anatomy gap we talked about earlier.
It creates a feedback loop. You stop reciting a memorized script, and you start cueing what you actually see. You see someone struggling, and now you have the knowledge to give them a precise, helpful cue.
And that's something you can control.
Totally. When you do that effectively, students are drawn to your classes. Finding students stops being a problem.
And this isn't just about feeling better in class. The sources really connect this to long-term health, right? The idea of integrating functional movement.
Yes, and this is about moving away from claims that, well, that don't have a scientific basis.
Like saying a twist will detox your organs.
Exactly. We move beyond that. Functional movements are skills that directly improve long-term health and independence. And that is a huge value proposition for your students.
So what are some concrete examples of functional movements we should be weaving into our classes?
Okay, a few key ones. First, just getting up from lying on your back without using your hands.
Core and hip integration.
For sure. Second, things for stability, like walking backwards. Third, dynamic balance. Can you stand on one leg long enough to put on a shoe?
A daily life skill.
Absolutely. And fourth, squatting. That triple flexion of the hips, knees, and ankles that we need for everything.
What about upper body strength? I know that's critical as we age.
It is, and it connects to grip strength. The sources really emphasize this. Weight bearing on the arms with the wrist in extension.
Downward dog, plank, side plank.
All of them. That's vital. Grip strength is a proven marker of longevity, and it declines so fast if you don't train it. These poses aren't just for toned arms, they're for future-proofing your body.
So if we pull this all together, what's the main takeaway here?
The main takeaway is that confidence isn't a mystery. It's not this abstract thing. It's built strategically on results-oriented support.
Support that addresses the skills, gap anatomy, cueing, sequencing.
And at the same time, dismantles those mindset barriers like imposter syndrome and undervaluing yourself.
So the path forward becomes pretty clear. You identify your limiting beliefs, you adopt that higher self perspective, you charge your worth.
And you focus on the tactical skills, the action cues, the functional movement. It's an actionable plan.
Let's leave our listeners with a final thought to chew on.
Okay. A lot of longevity experts like Dr. Peter Adia, they talk about this goal of always being able to sit down on the floor and get back up without help.
So you can play with your grandkids when you're 80.
Exactly. A physical skill tied to a core life value. So as a movement educator, I challenge you. Look at your next class plan. What fundamental physical skill tied to a core value like independence or family are you actively teaching your students?
Are you teaching shapes or are you teaching skills for life?
That's the question.
A deeply relevant question for every teacher listening. Thank you for guiding us through this deep dive.
Thanks for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And hey, one more thing. While I don't know you personally, I know what a yoga teacher looks like who's ready to have a breakthrough to being the kind of yoga teacher who walks around the room, sharing cues you know the reason for, understands anatomy, teaching signature sequences without notes or any need to practice with class, and loves teaching yoga without stress, anxiety, or nervousness. If you are ready to be that yoga teacher, here is your next step. DM me the words podcast offer, and I will give you a special incentive to work with me inside of my signature program just because you are listening to the podcast. DM me on Instagram at Bare Bones Yoga. I can't wait to hear from you.